Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of CLX Foundry Live, right here where we dive deep inside of a customer's build. We assemble it from the ground up. I'm your host, DJ Blue PDX, and of course, joining me live from our studios in Wichita, Kansas, it's none other than our lead technical expert, Paul Steffens, and our master builder, Zach Killingsworth. Gentlemen, we've got a fun project for somebody that I forgot to ask about their name too, but I got to cover something first, and it's unfortunate that is blocking one of them. You know, we've got graphics for this. There we go. As you can see on either side of the case that Zach is holding, we've got two different giveaways. To find out more about these giveaways, you're going to want to type exclamation giveaway on what is on the left of his right, but your left. That is our AMD giveaway. It's an AMD PC with our friends over at Fantex. It's going to be happening. We're getting close. We've got a couple weeks left in the giveaway. It's absolutely incredible. Plus, on the other side, we've got our Intel Gamer Days giveaway, which is fantastic. Also, because it's partnered with Intel and Fantex. Get it? Fantex is fantastic. I love being me. All right, now, here's the fun part. Once you follow all the instructions on there and get all your little codes redeemed, you are going to find out that you've got extra entries. Now, everybody wants to know, as I've already seen multiple people ask, yo, bro, where the code's at? So, let me tell you where the code's at. You can find codes on our stream on the Kick side on Tuesdays. That's kick.com/CLXgaming. On Thursdays, like today, you can find those codes at twitch.tv/CLXgamingTV. You can also find those codes on our social media. That's YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at, don't worry, I'll tell you, CLX Gaming. And you could also find them in our Discord at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You can also find them on my streams, and I've got a couple even today, but we'll talk about that later. Right now, gentlemen, we're going to be putting a bunch of stuff in a box for somebody. Who is this for?
This is for Harold in Arizona.
Harold in Arizona. All right, Harold. Let's see what we can do for you. Paul, take it away.
All right, so starting out with our processor, we've got the Intel Core i9-14900K. To cool that, we've got our CLX Quench 360 AIO in black. For our motherboard, we've got an Asus ROG Strix Z790-H gaming Wi-Fi. And for our memory, we have 2 sticks of G-Skill, 32GB DDR5, 6000 speed. This is the Trident Z5 in black with the RGB heat spreaders, so a total of 64 gigs of RAM in this. For our storage drives, we've got a couple different options here. So the main drive is going to be a 1TB Kingston NVMe NV2 M.2 drive, and then we've got a secondary storage drive, which is a 6TB Seagate. Now this is kind of a unique one for the show, but we can get into that a little bit later. For our video card, we've got an RTX 4070. And for our case fans, we have 10 of our GameDS Aeolus M3s. You guys have seen us use these before. These are the more subtle, but still have an RGB ring around in them. But if you're not a big fan of lights, this is a good one to go with. For our power supply, we've got a GameDS 750-watt Kratos. This is the 80 Plus Gold version. And obviously our case, we've got the Dynamic Evo XL in white.
Nice. That is going to be a ton of fun. You know what's a ton of fun is making sure that I've got all of my... No, they are. That was not me. All right, perfect. Yes, Nathan Reverse. Welcome. I'm going to be forward. You're going to be backwards. And together, we're going to make no motions at all. Now, if you hear of the reference to anything in this show that you're just not quite on top of, or that you're just a little confused by, please feel free to ask, because that's what we do. You know what we also like to do is say, listen, there's not really a day that goes by that we don't get asked for codes. So our first code of the day is days-YYKK. That is Delta Alpha Yankee Sierra dash Yankee Kilo YYKK. Here we go. That is your first code. Those are days codes, which I believe are worth extra entries in the amount of... Hold on, let me pull up my thing. It is worth 100 extra entries into the giveaway. You don't want to miss those. Those are fantastic. Now, and everybody's like, oh my God!
Already?
Why? Okay. There we go. What up, Hashim? Nathan Rivers says, do you know if CLX does an ambassador partnership with streamers? Yeah, you know what? If you actually head on over to clxgaming.com, go down to the very bottom. There's on the right-hand side, there's a link where you can actually submit an application for that. Kaku's like, I'm not speaking English at all. I'm not good at speaking English at all. Listen, I'm gonna be honest. I'm American, and I'm not good at speaking English most of the time. Public school. So, who can type the code again? You'll have to trust your fellow people. Watch the build using the
Nice.
MITx Razor Tomahawk, and it was not ours, obviously. Oh, an MITx Razor Tomahawk, and it was an ultimate fail with cable management as they couldn't close the back panel with it being glass. Ooh. You know what the problem was? They didn't have Zach doing cable management. I'm going to be very honest. Bells, hello. How do we enter the giveaway, Bells? Let me tell you what. I'm going to go ahead and copy this and just throw it right over to you. Boop. Copy and hang on. Paste. Yeah, the bot only seems to work on certain platforms. So, yeah. There you go. That is for you. You're Irish. Sometimes I find it hard to understand Americans. I mean, listen, you're not the only one. Let's start by taking a look at something we can identify. Not only is this a beautiful board from our friends over at Asus, it's the ROG Strix crew. We're going to take a look at some of the incredible connectivity that this board has on the back. Let's start at the very top. We've got, of course, our HDMI and our display port, followed down by our two USB 2 Type A ports. You've got your little CMOS buttons and reset buttons there. Then we've got our four USB 3.2 Gen 1 ports. Those are all Type A's. You've got three USB 3.2 Gen 2 ports. Those are 10 gig ports. You've got three Type A's, one Type C, and then you've got the big Buddha. This is a 3.2 Gen 2 by 2 port. Now that means you got 10 gigs up, 10 gigs down. You can do 20 gigs of data transfer at all times. Plus, you've got a 2.5 gig LAN port followed by your Wi-Fi 6E ports. And you've got all them audio squads plus your IR in the event that you still use it. There we go. All right. So, obviously, we've got some really great heat sinks on top of this board to keep it all very, very cool. And that is always amazing. And also, one of my favorite things about this board is what is my favorite thing about my board and our favorite thing about all boards that come from Asus ROG Strix. It's called, Zach,
The button!
the button! It's the button. I love it. So, Zach, what's that button do?
It unlocks our graphics card. So we have a quick release pull tab locking our graphics card in. So they don't have to finagle a fat finger back there to unlock them anymore.
Oh, yeah. Hear you on that one. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, we can't necessarily create a PC that does things unless we have a way of actually processing all the data. In order to do that, we're going to have to shove a processor in there, and this is giving me an Intel Core i9 14900K. Now, I have a 13900KF, so this sounds a little bit different. Paul, wow, I love that wafer tray. Walk me through what's different between the K and the KF, and what's the difference between the generations? Tell me a little bit about this processor.
Sure. The difference between the K and the KF. So the K means unlocked, so both of them you can overclock if you choose to. And what the F means is it doesn't have onboard video. Now, typically that's not important in a gaming build because you're going to have a video card. So totally fine to not, but if you've got one that's a non-F, if you need to troubleshoot or anything like that, you can use the video outputs on your motherboard to get video. Definitely would not do that if you're gaming on it, but it's a, it can be an option to have if you want it.
Absolutely. All right, now we get that in there. Now, obviously, once we punch that in, you've noticed Zach put something behind the board. This is not a back brace. This is the back end for our AIO. Now, Zach, here's a question. Why do you have to screw things down on it?
So each AIO will have its own locking mechanism. A lot of them do utilize posts, so just want to make sure that we install the correct posts for our processor.
Gotcha. Nice. I like it. So now comes in our CLX Quench 360 AIO in black. We love this. It's in-house and it's great with our friends over at Ace Tech. Now, when you're putting these on, it's very important that you pay attention to how you do it, because you want to make sure you're putting it down evenly, making sure you've got thermal paste that's going to be usable. So, Zach, what are some good key elements to think about when you're putting these together?
Just like installing a spare tire, we want to jump around in a star fashion. Being we only have 4, we just bounce around in the opposite directions, and that will apply even pressure to our processor.
Nice. Dante Bordy over on the TikTok side. Welcome in. What's going on? I'm at GB5. Oh, you did it for the Intel? Yes, you got to do it. You did it for the AMD and not the Intel. Got it. Yes. 2 different giveaways, 2 very different sets of codes. Don't worry. I've done the same thing. Just not for our giveaways because I can't win them. All right. Here we go. We're going to go ahead and wrap this up underneath and around the base. So, Zach, I know you talk about this a lot, but what is the advantage to having this done like this? Because I remember when mine would get caught in my fans because I didn't do this.
Mm-hmm. So, what we would have to deal with is this long cable. If we didn't hide it underneath the post, we would just go like that. It's still exposed and loose enough to where it can come up and get into something that might be spinning, like a fan on like a graphics card or something like that. So I just like to loosely tuck it underneath our posts, and this just kind of keeps it locked and secured into a safe location where it won't get damaged, it won't do damage, and it will stay hid. So you have a very pretty looking build. Boom.
Nice. Nice. I did get a question coming in from Deadshot. Did you see the new Black Ops 6 gameplay? Yes. And you know how much I love me some Black Ops Zombies. This is going to be a game I'm definitely getting. Although on Tuesday, I had the opportunity, thanks to wonderful folks over at Ubisoft, to play the new Star Wars game, which was amazingly fun. Absolutely incredible. I think they did it's probably one of the best Star Wars campaigns yet. So I'm super jazzed. Super jazzed. What I'm also jazzed about is how we're going to be able to process the data coming through that CPU, and that's with something we called RAM. Now, RAM stands for ridiculously awkward meat. No, stands for random access memory, or readable access memory, or ridiculous. What does it stand for?
Random access memory.
I was right the first time, technically.
Modular.
There we go. A modulin? Is that a word?
Memory modular.
The DIMMs.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what these 2 memory modulars are. They are 2 32 gig sticks of G.Skill DDR5 6000. Now, that's a total of 64 gigs. Obviously, there's 2 sticks of 32, which is great because it gives expandability. But, like, for me, I have 64 gigs of DDR5 6000, but I have 4 sticks. Paul, what is the big difference between the 2?
The big difference between having 2 and 4 sticks, so really what you care about is the total capacity. So if you have 2 sticks of 32 like this person does with 64 gigs, or 4 sticks of 16 with 64 gigs, you're most concerned about the total capacity. Now if you really want to get to the nitty gritty of it, 4 sticks of 16 gig is going to be slightly faster than 2 32s. However, in my personal experience, I don't really notice that frame rate in game, so I like to leave a couple slots open, that way I can upgrade in the future.
Nice. I'm going to go ahead and enter that for that question that was sent towards Nikhil. Now, the one thing we will have to do once we get the RAM and the CPU is we've got to figure out what's going to hold the operating system, which is going to be Windows, obviously. We're going to be doing it with a 1 terabyte Kingston NV2. It's an M.2 NVMe SSD. And I know we've got some new faces on board here today. So here we're going to go through the basics because you know what? We like to, and that's what we're good at. So, Paul or Zach, whoever wants to answer, what's the difference between this and, say, an SSD? Because this is an M.2 NVMe SSD.
Sure, so this is an SSD. Now the difference between this and like a 2.5-inch drive is those 2.5 inches are typically run on SATA 3 transfer speeds, which is a lot slower than NVMe. That being said, both of those SSDs are way faster than the old hard disk drive mechanical drives, but those older drives are great for extra storage like this customer has. So if you want, you want to get basically a fast NVMe drive, M.2 preferred, so you can put your operating system on there, it'll boot up really fast, your favorite games on there so you don't have load screens, and then you can go with an older hard disk drive for some extra storage.
Nice. Now, I did get a question coming in from, okay, I'm going to try to say this, Yokomayasha. Okay, I pray to God I did not ruin your name, but either way, it says, how tricky is it to get 4 sticks working together? That's a good question.
99% of the times it's not tricky at all, as long as they're the same brand and speed. Once you start mixing brands and speeds, it can be a nightmare. So definitely don't recommend doing that. And even sometimes you got 4 sticks of the same brand, RAM can be finicky. It doesn't happen a lot, but we've seen it to where 4 sticks, it's not like working properly, and then we just switch the sticks around that the slots they're in and it fixes it. So RAM can be finicky sometimes, but most of the time, if it's the same model, same speed, just drop it in and you're good to go.
My old gaming PC, which was former, I had 2 different brands at 2 different speeds, and trust me, it was nothing but a nightmare. What Zach is holding in his hand is what we call a heat sink. Zach, what does this do?
This cools off our NVMe drives. Some motherboards have their NVMe drives exposed, and some of them have them underneath heat shields. This is a very fancy one that has an extended heat pipe that comes off of it to help transfer all of the fast speeds of loaded screens that you won't ever see.
Now, here's a question I've always had, and I don't think has ever actually been asked on the show. And here's what I got for you. Do you need to be pulling off? So I'm kind of weird about labels on things. I I pull all my labels off. So should you not remove the label that is on your RAM stick?
The serial number that comes from the factory, I would probably leave it on there. It doesn't really matter if you can get it off and it's just a little bit sleeker look, you can. Just the biggest thing would be like if you bought it from like a third party or something like that, you might want to keep that on there for warranty stuff. But
Gotcha. So that won't affect the heat by leaving it on there, will it?
No, it won't.
Cool. Apparently the game Croc is getting a remaster. Are there any games you would like to see get the same attention? Yes. Getting a remaster? Yes. Battlefield Bad Company, Battlefield Bad Company 2. I want a Battlefield Bad Company 3. I would really like to see Halo 3 finally get a reface, except for that's not going to happen. Reasons.
Need for Speed
Underground. Those are some great games that I loved.
Oh, yeah. That would be nice.
Which
Need
one?
Need for Speed Underground.
Need for Speed Underground, and Hot Pursuit.
Combine it with Hot Pursuit and did like a 2 or 3 remastered titles under one game. Oh man, that would be
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, that would actually be legit. I love it.
Shout out to EA.
You ever play like
you guys need to make that happen.
That'd be nice.
I know, right? Now, speaking of things making happen, because I just saw you made something happen. You made something happen with some fans. Now, these are 3 of our 10 GameDS Aeolus M3 ARGB fans. I like these fans because they're subtle. Paul, what can you tell me about these fans? And let's talk about the way that you really want to mount them if you're putting in your AIO for the very first time.
Yeah, so these are standard 120 millimeter case fans. Now these are the GameDS Aeolus M3s, which is the newer revision. So they put out a lot of air. Something to note about them is the RGB ring is on the inside of the fan blades here. So it has a subtler RGB effect than like ones that have the M2s, which have the glowing blades, which can be good if you're not a huge fan of a ton of RGB, but you still want some color options. What I like with these is if you're not a big fan of color, if you turn them off, they just look like regular black case fans. And then you can, set them to just an individual color or cycle them through a bunch of different modes. There's a whole lot you can do with them.
I know I'm going to get in trouble for that one. Yeah, that is not a code. I was just kidding. There we go. But Los Cacos, it's coming. Don't you worry. Ivory's on top of it. He's the code master. All right. Now we've got our fans kicked in there. And we talked a little bit about what direction you want to be pushing the air through instead of pulling it. And with that said, how many other ways are there to attach the fans?
So you can put the fans on either side of the radiator. It's always best to have your fans pushing air through, like how we've got them oriented. But if you're in a situation where the case and the way everything mounts up, they've got to be pulling air through to see them, that's fine as well. We just recommend pushing through if you can. It's not going to cause any damage to your machine by having them in the opposite way though.
Yep. And I'm gonna be honest, if you're getting the XL case like this, because this is what I have in the white, the one thing I will say about this is that we did a push-pull on mine, and it keeps this monster of a processor so cool it's not even funny. So if you can fit it into a build, and you've got the funding for an extra 3 fans, I would highly recommend. Personally, I would say go for it, because why not?
Or if you're overclocking as well. If you do any of the overclocking, a push-pull can really get you higher speeds and keep everything cooler there.
Gotta bump those rookie stats.
Yo.
I'm still terrified of trying to overclock anything myself. Like, I'm still using what Hayden gave me for my graphics card overclock, and that's just there. But then there is what was I gonna say, the CPU overclock, like, there were so many options and terms that I did not understand. There's like, you can do overclock AI. What the heck does that mean?
Well, it's AI figure out, what, if you can keep it up based on like temperatures and stuff like that. So
Suicune, I think.
It's the legendary Pokemon from Crystal version. Suicune.
It's the French Pokemon. Le Pew. Is there an option to set up a push-pull on the CLX configurator?
So for that, you would just pick more fans on your build, and we will do that for you. There isn't, like, when you're picking your cooler, this isn't like a push-pull option. It's just based on your case fans. So if you want that, add 3 more fans to your build. And you can also let us know, like, if you want those on the radiator, you can, reach out to us on support and just make sure that's the case. But if you add on 3 fans and your case is full, we're going to do the push-pull for you, or, whatever size radiator you're doing.
And just so we're clear, I got clarification from our friend. It's Les Suicune. Suicune. There we go. Welcome. Hi. That's a great name. I like it.
Yeah, it's the legendary Pokemon,
now,
man.
Speaking of legendary things, let's talk about those legendary holes that Zach is screwing around with. And these are for attaching your board to your PC. Now, what are some things to take into consideration, Paul, when you're putting your board down into your case for the first time?
Things to look at when you're putting your board in your case. You want to make sure your standoffs are in the right location. So that's what Zach was doing when he was installing that motherboard. Those standoffs separate the motherboard from the frame of the chassis. That way our motherboard isn't touching bare metal and causing anything to short out. Now, it's not the end of the world if you miss a standoff, you just got an empty hole. But if you got an extra one in there, that's metal touching your board where it shouldn't be, and that can cause issues.
Yep. Now, it's interesting, as we can see, Zach's actually going to be mounting this. Are you top or side,
top.
Zach?
Just top.
All right, we're doing a top mount on this. The interesting thing is, and this is what I've always found fascinating, these guys do it any different ways they can, as many different ways as they can figure it out how to. So this is going on the top. So mine, because it was a push-pull, is on the side right here. And so because there wasn't enough room at the top, so we put 3 on top of the radiator on the back of the case, and then 3 more fans on the back of the case's frame behind the back. Paul, why is that, and how does that work?
The reason we had to do it with your case was because having the extra fans on the radiator made the radiator a little bit taller, and it was bumping into our motherboard heatsink. So if you're going to do a push-pull in the top of your build, you definitely want to make sure that it's not going to be bumping into your motherboard or your RAM sticks.
One thing I'd love to point out, because we've got a great shot here of it, this is what Paul and I like to call a 2/3 build. So a lot of times, at least in older cases, you always they just slam that back. The motherboard is attached to the back of the PC. You got to run all your cables down underneath. But this is a little bit different. So Paul, now I noticed that the gap is a little bit different in this as well. So explaining what those holes are and why the motherboard doesn't sit directly on the back of the case.
Sure. These holes, so we'll start with the middle right here. So this hole is where our power supply is going to go. That's why it's just an empty hole right now. And then inside of here and here are extra hard drive bays. So that's where we're going to be putting in this extra mechanical drive. Now this is the dynamic XL, so it's a little bit different than the regular XL. So inside, and we'll show this when we get to the back, these hard drive bays actually swing out the back, kind of like a door. So it doesn't have the thumb screw like the XL does. It's all done on the other side.
Oh. Neat. Okay, so this is definitely different than the one I have.
Yeah, this is a little bit different than the one you've got. It looks, you know, from a distance, it's probably pretty hard to tell the differences, but it does have some slight differences to it.
I dig it. I dig it. All right, we have a question coming in from Cosworth. Is there a case that makes you say, nope, this, I'm out?
Any ITX case. We'll still do it. Don't get me wrong. It's just cable management and ITX can be hard. There's one, I think it's like a Fantech Shift. We haven't done those in a long time. It might be EOL now, but it's like a tall rectangle. It's like this tall, I'm like this wide, and it can fit a full-length graphics card because it goes in kind of the side with a riser card, and that one, whew, yeah. And like the P200 was another one that was like, get them cables in there. So.
Right. Rick James in the house. What's up, my dude? All right, now we're getting all the rest of these put on. Now, Game DS comes up. Now, you notice the cable's in the back of the Game DS. Notice there's only one cable. Well, you've got to have a way of getting power and control to the colors. So, explain why we only have one cable per fan, Paul.
We have one cable per fan. Zach, do you mind handing me one of those boxes real quick? The fan controller boxes? That is because these fans are controlled by these fan controller boxes. So each fan is going to go into a port here. Now you notice we have two boxes here, and that's because we have 10 fans. Each one of these boxes can hold 8 fans, but you can daisy chain them together so that they all sync together. So we're going to fill up one of these with 8, and then the other one we're going to use 2. Now we do have to do it in that order. We couldn't do like 5 and 5 because the way these read is in sequential order. So you got to start with 1 and work your way through. But that's why we have 2 of these. They'll sync up and be controlled with a remote. We can also have this plugged into the motherboard. That way you can use the motherboard software as well. I personally like just having the remote.
So Temperance mentions, can I request that Zach and Paul switch positions for a day on stream and then order an ITX build?
Yes.
And I've responded with, nope, we don't allow cruel and unusual punishment.
Yes, Ivory's got my back. I was going to say, we'll do it for the people. We've talked about some stuff like that with me and Zach switching sides. If there's enough public outcry, maybe.
Okay.
Zombie Reigns in the house. What up, Z? Is there any case that you guys will like fight over to get to build in? Good question.
I personally really like grabbing the Evolve X's. They're older now, so you know they're getting phased out. But that's a really it's a case that I personally use at home, so I'm very familiar with it. I like the tie-up job in it, but other than that, no. I mean, we all kind of like this. Anything that you guys fight over, Zach? For cases to build in. There's really not a lot of fighting that goes on.
No,
Just kind of grab whatever's next.
I looked at 2 orders, and one of them was in V7, and the other one was 518, and I opted for the 518.
Yeah, the 518.
Right now we're a little overwhelmed with NV7s, so every time I grab one, I kind of have a little PTS. I'm like, oh, I've got so many panels I need to remove right now before I can start putting stuff inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 518 is the model for the Evolve. So yeah, we both like that one. They just come together so quick.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
You feel like, man, I killed it on that one,
Yep.
and then. You know, like you said, you get an MV7 with 12 fans. You're like, all right, we're gonna be in the back of this for a minute.
Yeah, let me go get a Gatorade real quick.
Mm-hmm.
All right, real quick, we've got a couple things coming in. First, your boy Blues in the house. Trying to decide if you tonight. To be honest, I'm gonna be playing some Baldur's Gate 3. Play Star Wars Outlaws on Tuesday, and it was incredible. The preview copy was awesome. I absolutely dig it. Temperance says, can you ask Paul what his day job is? Because he is making it sound like he isn't a builder.
Good question. Yeah, Temperance. So my day job here is the warehouse manager. So I oversee pretty much every department and operations that we do here. So from our inventory to assembly to testing, QA, and shipping. So I've been here a long time, coming up on almost a decade, which is crazy to think about.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's what I do day to day. I do get to build every now and then. You know, sometimes we've done a couple on the show, and then every now and then me and Zach get to sit next to each other and just go ham for a day, which is, I love those days.
Yeah.
Those are fun. Doing like soundtrack Sundays when we were working overtime. I remember that we come in and Zach's blasting the Tron soundtrack, and I'm like, let's go.
And
it's
then
time.
Disney hour, sing along.
Yeah, we'd be singing the Lion King soundtrack and whatnot.
That's hilarious. Okay, now we're getting these all plugged in. What's the next thing on our order?
Really, what we're doing right now is case fan, or it's not case fans, excuse me, case cables. So typically what we do on these builds,
case cables?
So we're talking about our USB ports, all that stuff. So we'll start here at the bottom. So you can see we've got 4 USB 3.0s, a Type-C, and then a headset mic. And then obviously we're gonna have the power button up here, reset button, all that. So we'd like to get, after we get the motherboard installed, we'd like to do the case cables next because they're already there and we can plug them in and get them managed and tucked away. That way when we start putting our fans in, it's less of a mess to deal with. There are times where, I mean, and I've done it too, where you just get all the components in there, you get your motherboard installed, fans, power supply, all that stuff, and then go on to the cables, and that can just be pretty overwhelming, even for professionals like us. So it's a lot, it's a lot easier to just break it into sections like this.
Totally get it on that one. Let's see here. Door Trooper was awesome. I still miss cases like that. Yes, that one was actually hilarious. We've actually been talking about whether or not we want to go and do another one.
Yeah, that was a great one. We'll definitely do another one. Those are kind of reserved for special situations like milestones we hit on the channel and stuff like that. But you know, that was not the last one. We will definitely do more.
What case takes the longest to assemble and how long usually? What's the fastest and how long? Good question, Fracture. Good question. Welcome to the show.
I would say, and Zach, you can definitely have more time on this question than me, but I would probably say on the fringe cases like the Elite or something like that, NV7 does take a little bit longer, but yeah, I'll let you take over that, Zach.
I don't know. Okay, so the Elite, in my opinion, doesn't take long.
Not that
because
bad.
It's so big, you don't have cable management. Your cable management is
like
I plugged my cable in.
Yeah.
Like,
There's no slack to work with.
It's so big, you just have to stick
fair.
it behind a Velcro strap. Like the ones that usually take a long time are like the smaller ones, or the stuff with like a whole bunch of different RGBs. Different RGBs is...
That's fair.
That doesn't matter what size case it is. You're having to plug in fans, light strips, and all like liquid coolers if those have like RGBs on them and stuff like that. That's like usually the thing that gets me is like, okay, well, I've got to manage this for this, and those builds really like hone in okay, I did my case cables, those are out of the way, and then I'm gonna do my power cables. Okay, well, my power cables technically are just a CPU and a 24 pin, because like the graphics card is kind of like a standalone, like you can plug that in whenever.
Kind of do that.
Yeah, so I like to get like the 24 and the CPU down flat, because those ones are usually, if you can hide those behind stuff and then start piling on the other, that makes it a lot easier. But yeah, depending on which case and how much room you have in the back is difficult.
Yeah, I kind of initially think like NV7 from getting just all the panels off, and then like it's like getting it out of the like we've talked about this too. Like we were just talking when we get those days where we get to sit next to each other and do. I like to like get everything out of the box right away. It's kind of a standard thing, but I mean you can spend 10-15 minutes just getting everything out of the box, panels off, video card, power supply, all that stuff opened up. So
yeah.
Like when I'm building a PC is a PC code code, and that PC code is VIEW, VIEW-995T, working 9952. No, that's not how that song goes, is it? It is 995 Tango, your opening prefix. W, Victor, Info, Echo, Whiskey. Here you are. Shout out to Ivory. Doing all the things. I like it.
Big
I
dog.
like it. I like it a lot. Oh, sir boy. Hello, hello. How are you? What a. All right, now we're getting in here and getting these fans attached to a frame. What is this frame?
This is our bottom intake. So this will be sucking in air off of the floor. The whole case has a really nice pull-out mesh. So
Yeah, you can see the little tab right here. So this just slides out for our dust filter. You can pull it all the way out, clean it, and slide it back in.
Dust filters. What the heck are those? How do they work? I
Well,
haven't pulled mine out in a while.
You should pull it out right now. Let's see. Let's see.
yeah, test.
Here we go. Is it?
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
Yeah.
We've seen worse
Okay.
for sure. We've seen
Now,
worse for
okay,
sure.
So what do? Just bang it on the floor?
Well, if you want to, if you got like a rag, you can just wipe it down. You can lick it, and that'll probably get all this dirt off.
Just
Nice.
don't blow
Oh,
it
licking
back
it, that
into
seems
the
like a-
computer, though.
Get you a little midday snack.
Well, I could also blow it with.
Yeah, but don't
you
blow
can't-
it back into the computer. All right, DJ,
right
what
down
is
there.
what does it consist of? Is it
What?
dog fur?
How many total
No,
Cheetos are in
actually
there?
just dust.
It's just dust. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
what we
clean
went
it.
over. That's what we went over with on Tuesday was the cons of having incense and smoking, vaping around your machine, and how it turns it into sticky. And so it turns it from being able to just take a towel and just wipe it off to like a towel,
Yeah.
and now you have to like scrub.
Oh,
Actually, yeah.
so my original CDJs for my DJ equipment that I had back in like 2002, 2001, 2002 ish, right there, because it hadn't gone to non-smoking yet. Or that I worked. And so I'm allergic to cigarettes like crazy. So I had a fan up behind me to just blow fresh air from the vent above me into the area and get away from me. Didn't matter. That stuff, and of course, the longer that smoke sits on the equipment, the gummier
Yep.
and more degraded and deteriorated it gets, and it's terrifying. Like I still have my original gear because I'm too much of a softy to get rid of it. Plus, it was amazing. The problem is, it is just gross, and yeah, like I'm pretty sure I would have to spend as much to fix it as I did when I bought it.
Not worth it.
Buy it once and you don't have to. Yeah,
Buy once, cry once.
but
That's the rule.
I found that those electric vacuum blowers really help cleaning PCs so much cheaper than compressed air. Yes, agreed. Anybody want to get me a PC electric vacuum blower thing?
They're not bad off Amazon. We were using cans of air for a long time, and then we got a couple of those, and they work out really great. I was actually just using one yesterday. Ours have like, I think they're just cheap ones off Amazon, really. We got some just to test to see if we would like it. And yeah, there's like 3 different settings and all that. It's pretty good.
I'll definitely have to look at that. Sure. All right. Now we're getting our fans. We got 6 of our 10 fans going in. Now we've obviously got our 3 coming up from the bottom, and you've got your 3 exhausting from the top. Now we're going to put 3 on the back. Now that's going to be 6 total intake fans that are going to be blowing air in through filters, right? And then you've got 3 on the top for exhaust, and then we're going to put 1 more on the back for an exhaust, and that's going to be 6 in, 4 out. Paul, how does that affect the way that the system is cooled and kept in a cleanly manner?
Having more intake fans is going to create a positive pressure inside of our system, which is what we want. The reason for that is all of the air coming in is going to go through the proper filtration. I believe we saw a question, if you've got pets, do you want your intake in the bottom or in the top? And really it's wherever the case is designed for that intake to be because of these dust filters here. So you want all that intake air coming through this so that none of that stuff gets inside your PC. So obviously these 3 at the bottom are intaking, and the 3 in the back that Zach's installing right now will also be intaking. And you can see on our back panel here, those fans are going to line up with one of these sections, and these are our magnetic dust filters. So that's why we have those there. You just want to make sure that air is getting filtered.
Yeah, and definitely don't forget to check your rear air filters, just because, like, and I've mentioned this before, probably mentioned it every other stream, because I've got that push pole in the back of mine, I have to literally pin my green screen to the wall because there's so much airflow that it sucks the green screen right up against the back of it. I'm just like, okay, that's not helping. Yeah. All right, now we're getting these 3 in here. Look how fast Zach did that. That is nice. Nice. What would you care to unpackage next, my friend?
Let's go ahead and get our video card out, and then we'll do the power supply right after that.
Okay. Well, for video cards, we're going to be shoving an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 12 gig into this beast of a machine. It's going to be PNY, and they've got a really unique look for their cards because some of them, they've actually been able to do a 2-fan version, which is lighter, it's shorter, and it's a little bit easier to mount and causes less of a risk in the system. Paul, talk about this. How does this affect things comparatively?
These 4070s with the 2-fan models, they've gotten pretty compact, which is good because a 4070 is obviously, you know, on that, getting to that higher end version of cards. It's going to perform great, but this won't need an anti-sag bracket like a lot of the high-end cards do. So that means, you know, it's not going to sag over time. And yeah, I like this card. Wow. Yeah, this is even smaller than I thought. So pretty cool how much power they can get into one of these smaller cards. We've got a single 8-pin power here, and then for our video outs, we've got 1 HDMI and 3 DisplayPort.
Nice.
I like this card.
How big a gigs?
I
12?
believe this
Or
is a 8 gig.
If someone was upgrading in today's
Nope, 12, you're right. 12 gig.
What would be a good number? Because we were talking about that and the after party, and I said 12 would probably be like a starter base that I would go with.
Yeah.
Because we were talking specifically video memory, like VRAM, like what's a good base.
12 is definitely a lot. I still think you can probably get away with going with 6 for most things. Yeah, 12 is gonna, you know, give you a little bit more life because newer games that come out obviously require more VRAM, and so that's where you could take advantage of that 12. So if you can go with 10, 12, something like that, it's good, but 6 is plenty for what we've got right now. And that is on the lower end. There's really not a lot of cards that only have 6 nowadays.
Indica says Zach is a goat when it comes to building. You are dang right. Absolutely correct. We got Maddie over here once again on the TikTok side. Can't wait to get on my PC later. A very long awaited game just came out. Oh, EVGA's extreme overclocking talent just went to PNY Kingpin. Oh, there we go. Did not know that. Okay. So now we obviously mentioned that we aren't going to necessarily need a anti-sag device because it's light. What else did you notice about the just construction of it?
Biggest thing with this card, we've got a smooth backplate on here with this section cut out. So that this fan right here, all the heat is going to be obviously starting on this side. You can kind of see those fins and heat pipes down in there in between the fans. So it's going to be bringing that heat out here, and then this fan's going to be blowing it all away.
Nice. Okay, now we're going to talk about a power supply unit. This is our PSU in Portland. That's known as Portland State University, but or Pennsylvania State University. But here it stands for power supply unit. Let's take a look at what we've got on this. For our power supply, we are going to be using a 750-watt Game DS Kratos P1 80+ Gold. It's even got RGB on it. So, Paul, what kind of a power supply unit is this, and what are the options you can have to get your power supply units?
This is a non-modular power supply, which means all of our cables are pre-soldered in. Now there's two other kinds, which would be fully modular, where none of these cables would be soldered in, and semi-modular, where some of them would be. Now going with the non-modular, you can save a few bucks there without sacrificing performance. And what we'll do is we'll plug in all the cables that we need. We'll probably have a couple extra SATAs or Molexes or something like that, and then we'll just bundle those up and tuck them away.
Nice. Now, did you explain the other two kinds?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, good. Got it. Making sure. Okay, now we're getting this down. As you can notice in the back, Zach is actually putting screws into the frame for the hard drive. Now, how does this work? Can you show how it goes in there? See, these are different than mine. I love it because it just swings out of the back. This is cool.
Ooh, this thing's heavy. Yeah, it's heavy already.
So
those doors swinging out, yeah, which is pretty kind of cool, honestly.
Yeah, honestly, I dig it. I mean, I like having the doors on mine, but that actually looks legit. I dig it. But it's not like the one thing I dig all day long, because if I'm going to dig lots of things over several days, that means Ivory's sending out another day's code, and that code is 7YGS. That is 7 Yankee Golf Sierra. Your prefix is days, DAYS. That is Delta Alpha Yankee Sierra. And so there's your next code. What do you think of the Aquinos Aqua 7 cases, Jimmy asks?
I haven't used any of those, so I couldn't give you a good recommendation on that. Maybe I'll look them up here in just a sec.
Yeah. We've got some really interesting things in my opinion, but yeah.
There's so many cool cases out there. It's just like an infinite amount of possibilities.
Yeah. Okay, now we've got our little two-fanner up in here. So I'm actually kind of jazzed that we aren't going to need a NSAG device, because this is going to be good. I'm excited. Plus, one of the benefits of having a 40 series card, obviously, is that you get access to the updated DLSS. Like, I'm on a 3090, and so I'm only going to have access to DLSS 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. Okay, we got that little guy popped in there. Easy peasy. What's next?
So we'll probably get some of these cables managed and then go into our power supply, but the only component we have left to install is the power supply. So
Start seeing what cables
got it.
Need. Okay, that was a
There we go.
I'm looking up this case. Aqua 7.
Right? I'm also looking it
I
up.
hope I don't get Rick rolled.
Oh my God. That would be hilarious.
Oh yeah, looks very similar to our View. Yeah, like our giveaway chassis. Very similar to that.
That's what I was wondering. It looks almost identical. Almost. Just a little bit different.
That's typically how it goes with cases. Someone will come up with, I think everybody just throws a lot at the wall, see what sticks, and then when one thing sticks, everybody kind of makes their own version of it.
Now, is that done similarly to the way that, like we've got 4070s from like 8 different companies? Is that similar to the way that it's done?
It is a little different because a lot of the different models of 4070, you can get one that are more compact that can fit in smaller cases, or you can get one with a way larger cooler, and typically those have a higher clock speed on them. Now, as far as performance goes across all those models, I think it's pretty marginal, honestly, unless you compared like the lowest end version of a 4070 to the highest end, like one with an AIO on it, then you probably notice a difference, but they perform relatively the same across there. It's more about the aesthetic, what looks good in your build, and what fits in your case.
Nice. I like it. There's also a map, an Aqua 3 that's smaller. Neat. Okay, nice. Crazy Man over on the red side wants to know what the specs are for this beast. So basically what we've got here is we've got a 011 XL dynamic, and then we've obviously got our Core i9 14900K processor on a ROG Strix Z790H Wi-Fi motherboard with 64 gigs of DDR5 6000. Obviously that 4070, we've got a 1 terabyte from Kingston as the operating system drive, plus a 6 terabyte from Seagate that is there, which is incredible. and different Game DS fans and our CLX Quench 360. So, one gaming creed at EJ, Star Wars Outlaws or Star Wars Jedi Survivor? Both. I don't feel like there's a need to weight one over the other. I think they're both incredible. Both are incredible. Okay, getting that all screwed back in. Now, the nice thing about having your power supply in the back, well, how does that help, Paul?
Really what it helps with is hiding the cables. So you can see all these cables coming out of it. We've got a nice compartment in the middle of this case like most O11s do for our cable management. But also it's going to get its fresh air in from the back and then shoot it out the rear of the case. Some of that heat from that power supply gets in the main end. I'm going to bring up this panel again that we talked about a little bit. So you can see we've got two magnetic dust filters on here. Now one is for those intake fans that we talked about a little bit ago, and then the other is for that power supply when it comes. So even that air that's coming into the power supply is going to be going through filters.
All right. We're getting that all set in there. Now here comes the fun part about the cable management. Zach and Paul, let's hear from both of you. What are some really great, I would say, practices or at least management guidelines to go through or go with when you're doing this kind of cable management, especially with a non-modular power supply?
For non-modular, probably the one tip I'll give is that you want to separate these cables out before you get it installed. It just makes your life a little bit easier because on the non-modular ones, when it comes out of the box, your 24-pin and CPU powers might be mixed up with some SATAs that can be kind of hard to untangle when it's inside the case. This one, it's mounted nicely. You can untangle them when it's in there, but that's just something I'd do. Zach, you're definitely better at me at tying up, so any tips you want to give?
I don't know. It's very hard because everything is different. It depends on the case. Yeah, it depends on how big your case is. If there's good room for you to have cables going, a lot of it is just experience from building. But just if you can have things separated out, like your case cables and your fan cables and your power cables, if you ever have any issues, troubleshooting issues, that does make it a lot easier having things organized out like that. So that's my big helpful hint is organize. Makes that troubleshooting easy.
I know one thing that you do, Zach, that I had never seen before, which I think is awesome, is on these Game DS fan controllers, and this kind of goes for anything, is Zach plugs them in sequential order, typically starting with the rear exhaust fan as number one. And that way, when you get this all bundled up and turned on, maybe you have a fan light that doesn't come on. It's spinning, but the light doesn't come on, so it's just a bad connection. Lets you know which fan that is on which box, so you don't actually have to trace the cable down through the mess of wires. I think that's a really pro move right there.
I just try to make it easy because you know how it gets when I go into troubleshooting mode.
Help!
Marshall.
Yeah.
All right, getting these cables all back up there. I do like the fact that you can actually sideload you can flop those out, because now this has got a little bit of a different set of the grommets than the XL.
Yes.
The full XL does. The XL Dynamic.
Yeah, the grommets and there's just a few different design elements different across all the O11s. From the outside, they look really similar, but once you get in there, like this one has this door on a hinge on the back that, you know, is a little bit different. And those grommets up top are so we can run our fan cables in the top and our CPU power or whatever else we need to up there.
Gotcha. Like it.
Annihilating that side.
Thank God it's not your PC, zombie. It's just pizza rolls.
As long as it's not toast, you're safe if it's not toast. Good lord. That's hilarious. All right, getting these all in there. So, Paul, how's the games been?
Been pretty good. We've been back on the old school RuneScape grind. We got that itch now. I was playing in free-to-play world, cutting down some trees, and some random person was nice enough to give me a membership bond.
Yeah.
So that's 2 weeks of membership pay. So we were going really hard there. It just expired, and so now I'm like, do I want to spend money or not?
Yeah.
But other than that, we've been kind of getting back into our bad addiction of League of Legends as well. I don't know why I play that game, but I do.
Rocket League.
That's amazing.
League.
But we're going to touch grass tonight and go play some actual paper magic in the store. Thursday is league night, so I'm excited for that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Okay, the rest of these in. So, what do you do exactly with all the extra cables, and how do you know which cable?
So we want to not, I don't have to plug the hard drive directly in because the hard drive goes into these sides. We want to, not forget to plug stuff up, but I just am remembering how all of those plug in. So our hard drives have the SATA ports on them for the data transfer lines and the power transfer lines. I was trying to make sure that most of the times you have to take one of these ports directly to the drive, but in this instance we don't have to do that. So my favorite go-to is the zig-zag. I fold them outwards with my SATAs exposed, and then I fold them inwards with my Molexes hidden, because I'll show you. There's exposed SATA. Molex, I will bend it to where it's on the inside. Usually, unless I'm using a Molex, I just kind of put those off to the side, and then just try to leave as many SATAs exposed.
It's a good strat.
Yeah, for easy use to plug in later.
It's too bad we can't just snip off those Molex connectors.
Fire.
Yeah, please don't do that. Please don't cut the wires if you're not using them. That is a mistake. It will cause extraordinary damage. Okay, getting so close now. Closer and closer. Yes.
Oh yeah.
This made it that way. We will do zip ties. Getting those together.
Yo, I will say the one thing that I have been enjoying playing lately, which is not what I anticipated, just because it's not typically my kind of game, but it is Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh,
and Baldur's Gate 3 is really brings me back to the old school Dungeons and Dragons days, like 8th grade level high school. Back when we had all of our quest guides and our monster guides, and you had to use you had to use certain rules in order to determine what you could put there. You couldn't just put a giant lick there and for no other reason than just I want to see my friends freak out. Watch one of them cast a fireball in a closet and kill everybody.
Cast fireball centered on self.
Right?
Win.
That's one of those moments.
We've been doing a tabletop cyberpunk game that's basically
what
D&D,
is that?
but it's basically D&D, but you're in cyberpunk world, and it is awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah, we just got done with this crazy, it was a race from Night City to Vegas, and you were using these heavily modified semi-trucks that were worth a ton of money, kind of like Mad Max style. And doing all that, and we got done and we won and got 100,000 eddies, and oh my goodness, now we're gonna mod our bodies. Ready?
Temperance says, I want a Star Wars game where I can take over from Vader and make him my.
Oh yeah.
Don't we all cower before the dark side? My last tabletop game was X-Wing Miniature.
Oh, nice.
Ooh,
They play that at the magic shop we go to. It always looks cool.
Phil Kennedy's over here on TikTok. Is this really live? I mean, unless I'm talking after death, yes.
We are live.
Unless you're watching it pre-recorded after the fact on YouTube.
True, true.
There we go. We do offer them on YouTube.
You can watch the VODs.
Yeah.
Tell you what's not live? My hairline. So, there we go. I know. The ball jokes will never get old. At least not for me. I'll always find them entertaining. So, I'm excited for this weekend. I'm going to be DJing back at the Rainbow Room.
Nice.
And then I got hired for a private DJ gig, on Saturday, which is going to be nuts because it's going to be going from 9 until 3.
That's cool.
I'm going to be DJing for 6 hours.
Ooh.
So, yep. But I made some incredible discoveries while I was playing around with stems, and that the stems options on my Denons are incredible, and I can also use the same thing on my Pioneers. So,
Nice.
there we go.
Nice.
I don't know why I had to do the clap, but I figured couldn't hurt.
Always helps.
We got 9 fans.
Yes. Now, Zach, what you hooking up right there, bud?
We've got fan hubs. So, like Paul was kind of saying a little bit earlier about how I go around in a circle. That just makes it a lot easier for troubleshooting incidences and stuff like that. But each fan has a different plugin. Some fans have proprietary plugins and use a hub, like these guys and Lindley and Fantex and Corsair. And then you have other companies like Intermax that have really cool RGB fans that just plug in via a 3-pin RGB header and plug in via a 4-pin fan header. So lots of different things when it comes to fans. RGB, non-RGB.
There's endless possibilities when it comes to fans.
The reverseness of some blades.
Yeah, that's the.
Now, I will say this.
Stove.
I do dig the difference in the rear door. Whereas it swings into place versus the one on mine does not. You got to use tiny little screws and not lose said screw.
Don't lose them.
It pops in place.
'Cause-
If you don't want them, you don't have to have them.
I did not have my magnetic screwdriver, and I dropped one, and it took me 30 minutes with a flashlight on the ground, searching through dust bunnies and more to try and find that thing. And it was nowhere where I thought it should be. Nowhere. I was like, wait, what?
Contact.
Let's see here. So, Phil Kennedy, what's going on? What are you building right now? Oh, so we're building, this is an order for Harold in Arizona, and this is the PC that he requested. So we're just filling. That's what we do. Unless we're building giveaway builds, we're building customer builds. So who knows? If you buy a PC from us, you might just see a build here.
Oh yeah.
Tyler Guerin's coming in over on there. Goat popsicles. I can't stand proprietary connection. I'm gonna be very honest. Yeah.
It would be nice if there was just a standard for sure. I mean, you obviously have your standard 4-pin fan header, but it'd be nice if everything just had the same one. That would be really amazing.
Yeah. Yep. It would be ideal. Simply ideal.
Amazing.
Let's see. Indica also said very detailed cable management. Big high fives.
Thank you.
Yep, that is a thing that Zach is exceedingly proficient at. It's kind of like phones, Popsicle. Like, it drives me nuts that USB-C isn't for everything. And it's weird because I have to keep all of my micro cables. What are they? The micro USB cables? For all the stuff that was before USB-C, but the USB-C stuff, it's I have batteries, portable mobile batteries that I'll take when I go camping or in case the power goes out or when I'm going to a con or something like that. that would charge so much faster, they had a USB-C connection.
Yeah, that would be so nice.
Would be ideal.
I didn't somewhere. I think it was somewhere in Europe. I want to say it was like England, but there was like a law passed that all the phones had to have like the standard connection. I think like iPhone had to use a Type C. If I'm remembering that correctly.
Ivory, you're hilarious. All right, now we're getting the final stage in here.
Yeah, we're in here talking to the void.
Right? Yelling into the nowhere. Listen, I yell into the nowhere often. I'm going to be yelling into the nowhere today because we're playing again. I'm going to be playing some Baldur's Gate 3 and giving away a couple of codes for one for each giveaway. It'll be a lot of fun. It'll be after the after show. What's going to be great.
Oh yeah.
Now this is where, okay, if there was an ASMR thing, one of the things that I love hearing is that zzz of zip ties. Does that make any sense, or am I just awkward?
No, it is a satisfying sound for sure.
Zzz. I once figured out how to get them to undo, so I didn't have to clip it and start and grab a new one. And it is this little guy right here. It's a very tiny little flathead. I just scoot it in the back and pull it out.
Oh, nice.
Yep, because it's just a flap down. You push up like this so it doesn't click. You can pull the whole thing back out. It's part of what I call my technical surgery kit, which is currently, well, it's not missing. I know where it is. I just know that I can't get to it because there's a pile of things that need to go on shelves, and I need to put a shopping unit together. Ice PC works. Now, when you're folding these cables over, what are some things to keep in mind, Zach?
Cables we don't want to hard fold. And what I mean hard fold is like fold it in half and like kink it in half would be a data transfer cable. So like our SATA lines that are transfer lines we don't want to kink. But typically a good rule of thumb for today's cables, because the housings is pretty good on them, just have like a little loop on them. You don't have to fold and press them hard on a light cable like this, a light, not fan light, but like size light. Like it's not a heavy cable, it's a lighter cable, so this can have a little bit more of a fold on them.
Speaking of things that got folds on them, I know that anybody who's still got all of their paperwork from the incredible adventures that are going to be happening at Intel Gamer Days are going to be happy because we've got another Intel Gamer Days code. It starts with IGD. That stands for Intel Gamer Days, also known as Indigo Golf Delta. And the code is 89HJ. That is the number 8 and the number 9er. And then H as in hotel, J as in jammer. Nice. All right.
It just came together nicely.
It did. I did. You know what else comes together nicely?
What?
Our ability to show these fine folks how they can get their hands on an amazing PC from CLX Gaming. Let's head over there. Oh my gosh, Jason's already on top of it. Let's do it. At clxgaming.com, we are absolutely mesmerized by the opportunity to give you something that's easy and fluid to use when it comes to choosing your PC and your parts. Your choice, your way, right away. It's almost like the Burger King of computers, but better because we're not Burger King. So you can go in here and choose. We've got everything from giant raw cases down to tiny little ITX cases, open loop cooling, closed loop liquid cooling. We've got Intel, AMD, Radeon, NVIDIA, you name it, we got it. We've got all different sizes and kinds of things, and you get to choose them. And the best part is you can't screw it up, all right? You can't screw it up. So, for example, if say you get a 4090 graphics card, right? But you've got too small of a power supply, the system will turn that little green button up into a yellow one that says solve conflict. So now it's going to say, all right, you can either choose one of these power supplies to work with this graphics card, or you're going to have to choose one of these graphics card, which will work with that. Once you solve the problem, it goes back to green and you can keep on going. Now, the fun part is you can choose all sorts of different hard drives, different fans, different cable mod kits, We've got options for even streaming gear. You want capture cards? We got them. You want beacon mix creates? We got them. You want your CPU overclocked, your GPU overclocked, or both overclocked? We got it. You want to upgrade your thermal paste? We got it. It's great. Plus, on our accessories page, not only can you get really cool t-shirts like this, because, you know, everybody wants a little CLX there, and our windbreakers, which you guys see us at all the cons wearing whenever we go. We've also got keyboards, mice, controllers, headphones, microphones, speakers, monitors. I think there's a tablet even. And then we've got, the high-res LCD display units, which are really cool. Routers, chairs, we've pretty much got everything you can imagine. So it makes it really easy to get all you need for your studio, your stream session, your games, whatever you're going to be doing is awesome. But if it feels like that's just a little bit too much, don't worry. We've got what we call our RTS section. Now, that stands for ready to ship. Our ready-to-ship PCs are already assembled and tested, and they come in multiple different configurations, so you can choose something from very entry-level all the way up to ultra-high performance, depending on how much you want to invest and how much you want to future-proof your purchase. So, with that being said, for all of your future gaming and PC needs, head on over to clxgaming.com, see what we can do for you today. Now, Paul, I did mention something fun. And that involves testing. What am I talking about?
So our testing department, when these PCs are built just like this one here and they power on, we take them to our testing and integration team. And so the first thing we do there is get into the BIOS of the machine. We'll make sure our RAM speed's set correctly. All of our storage devices are showing up, and sometimes mess around with some other settings depending on the build. And then after the BIOS is set, we load the system. So your operating system, any games you picked on our website. If you didn't pick any games on our website, all we install is the operating system. You're not going to get a whole bunch of different bloatware that you don't want on your machine or anything like that. And then once everything's been loaded, we put the system through a 12-hour burn-in or a stress test, and that really runs the system through its paces, make sure everything's stable. Usually if something's going to fail, it's going to fail within that testing process. So that allows it to fail when it's here, and we can fix it, replace it, and make sure it's stable when you get it at home.
Nice. All right, well, looks like we are ready to test some things out. Let's go ahead and see what that power looks like.
Ooh, those M3s look good in this case. This might be the best case for those M3s that we've done. Nice.
Very subtle. I dig it a lot. That's incredible. Let's go over one more time what's inside this amazing PC for our friend Harold in Arizona. This, of course, is a raw O11 tower in white, and it comes with an Intel Core i9-14900K processor mounted on an Asus ROG Strix Z790H gaming Wi-Fi motherboard with 64 gigs of DDR5 6000 plus that RTX 4070. That operating system is going to be held on a 1 terabyte Kingston M.2 NVMe, and we've got an additional 6 terabytes in the back from another Seagate hard drive. Now, we're going to cool our CPU with a CLX Quench 360 closed loop liquid cooler and our 10 GameDS Aeolus fans, and it's all being powered by that 750 watt GameDS Kratos P180 plus old supply unit. There we go. Take a look at that. Now, today's show is going to happen in 2 different parts. Those 2 different parts are going to start in just a few. We're going to take a break. When we come back, you get to spend the afternoon with Zach as he continues building some incredible machines because, well, that's what he does. Now, don't forget, this show happens on Tuesdays and Thursdays starting at 11 a.m. Pacific. That is 2 Eastern here at U.S. times. Now, on Tuesdays, we drop codes over on the Kick side. That's kick.com/CLXgaming. On Thursdays, we drop them here on Twitch at twitch.tv/CLXgamingTV. You could also find codes while paying attention to the latest and greatest of what's coming up and going on with CLX Gaming at our socials. That's YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at CLX Gaming. You can also jump into our Discord with a bunch of other like-minded PC enthusiasts, and maybe you'll even find a code or two, and that's at discord.gg/CLX Gaming. You can also find them on my streams, and I'll be having streams on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, and I've even got 2 to give away once Zach is done with his giant build show. So with that being said, on behalf of Jason and Kyle in production, Paul and Zach, I'm DJ Blue PDX. Stick around, don't go away. We've got more coming up after the break. We'll be right back.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.